Guy Pacha with the weekly Pele report for December 9th, 2020. I'm down here at a little quiet part of the river so you can hear me because the waterfalls are pretty outrageous. I could call this a solar eclipse report. We are having a total solar eclipse that's exact on Monday. Super powerful. I can talk a little bit more about it, but you know, it is very close to the south node of the moon, which is what makes it total. And we know that the moon's nodes and the sun, obviously with the moon, are square Neptune at the same time. The sun is square Neptune today, catches up to the south node on Friday, and then has the eclipse next Monday, right? So that is going on, and Mercury is catching up to the sun. You know, it's coming right along, and we've got that same aspect. Mercury is going to be square Neptune on Sunday, okay? And they're both really pretty much in trine with Mars. Yeah, nice fire trine, Sagittarius to Aries. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Just a little bit, because really a lot of this report is going to be about Pluto square Eris. This Pluto square Eris is going on through 2019, 2020, 2021, but one of the many times that it is exact, all right, is it's coming up, baby, tomorrow, Thursday. Exactly square. I find this tree very interesting here because it's kind of like, okay, how did that get there? Mother Nature. You can tell the level of this water was a little higher to put that tree on top of that rock, right? Oh my God. Just freaking love the power of Mother Nature. What else is happening? The cool thing that's happening is Venus is also going to be moving into Sagittarius before I speak to you next time. She's going to be shifting from Scorpio, you know, kind of a month in Scorpio of deep personal transformation, talking about the three big taboos: sex, money, and death. And these issues of sex, money, and death are, you know, in our newspapers, in our headlines. We're still dealing with them now. We will be dealing with them for quite some time, because Eris is also has this, she is kind of a feminine goddess for the people and for the feminine. And yeah, I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to talk more about that. Looking at the camera, I think, you know, I think we're pretty much good. Just that last thing, before Venus goes, you know, into Sag, she is going to be making a nice sextile. You know, she is in sextile right now to the Capricorn boardroom, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. So I'm going to just kind of go up over here, see if I can get a nice backdrop, and talk to you about what all that indicates. Okay, I'm trying everything now. I mean, I got the bag that I carry all this stuff down to the river with, covering part of the microphone to stop the sound of the water, and I hope it doesn't stop the sound of my voice. Hope you can hear me. All right, let's start just with a little astronomy. We've been in kind of what a solar minimum. The sun has an 11-year cycle, 11 years, and during that 11 years, the poles actually shift. They flip. Did you know that? The north and south pole of the sun flip every 11 years. Pretty amazing. Anyway, we've been at what they call the solar minimum, and we are now emerging out of that solar minimum. And there's actually been a 50% rise in solar activity in the last 2 weeks. So they're expecting the corona of this eclipse to be fantastic viewing. It's going to be spectacular. Lots of sunspots are coming back. In terms of that, so we will be building from now until 2025. More solar activity, more sunspots, more effects on our magnetic field, which affects all of our satellites, communications, etc. Kind of an interesting dynamic as Uranus is moving through Taurus here. Uranus ruling electricity and disturbances. Anyway, let's look at this solar eclipse. Happens twice a year. There won't be another one till like next July, June, July. And it sets the tone. It's like a super new moon. So first of all, it says this month, after this report, I'm going up to write the lunar planner. You know, I mean, it's like, this is probably going to be the most exciting month that we have ever seen. Woo! Okay, and this seed that is sown with this solar eclipse sets the tone, the overall tone for that whole cycle. Okay, the whole solstice, Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, Eris, you know, I mean, everything that's going on, Eris, Pluto, that I want to talk about today, because that is actually this week. But really, if you look at it, Eris and Pluto have been square just at the same degree. Okay, the 24th degree of Capricorn and Aries, really from what? November 19th until Christmas Day. That's the same degree. Astrologers will usually give 2 or 3 degrees. If we gave 2 or 3 degrees, like I say, it's most of 2019, all of 2020, all of 2021. This is very, very powerful. And since I'm already there, I'm going to just go into this Eris Pluto. I mean, I did a whole video. There's a whole separate video I did on Pluto square Eris. It's a 3rd quarter square. The conjunction, I have to read you the conjunction, was in 1756. Okay, this is just before, the 1776 independence of the United States. I think that is, probably when they were killing off all of the native indigenous people there. The Wild Western days or whatever. But I want to read to you the exact, it was at the 19th degree of Sagittarius. The Sabian symbol pelicans menaced by the behavior and refuse of men seek safer areas for bringing up their young. So this is a 360-year cycle that began in the late 1700s, and we are now 3/4 of the way through it. It's the need for people concerned with the future to discover a new way of living and more wholesome surroundings. The evident reason for using pelicans at this stage of the cyclic process is that tradition tells us that these birds are so concerned with their young that they give their own blood and flesh to feed their progeny. Whether this is a fact or symbol, the meaning of this picture refers to a situation that lately has acquired great urgency. Our technological society is polluting not only our global environment, but the mind and feeling responses of new generations as well. The search for a new way of life is seen by many people to be imperative. The third quarter square of this cycle, of what this is about, okay, is a crisis in consciousness. We are in crisis, and crisis is an assist. It is created that we become more clear about who we are as a species, as individuals, what we want for future generations, the type of life and how we interact with Mother Nature, with the earth. And so it's very powerful that this is also mirrored and reflected in this solar eclipse in the sign of Sagittarius. A few weeks ago, I went into this whole idea of natural law that is associated with the sign of Aquarius, with morality, with what is right and what is wrong, and how we intuitively, as individuals, and I think collectively, we know. I think I quoted, Jefferson or something, we know these truths to be self-evident. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and what are we dealing with now? Forced vaccinations? You can't, the masks, the pharmaceutical companies, the governments, we're dealing with moral issues of life and death. Should we be allowed to have science and pharmaceutical companies mess with our DNA or not? Yeah? And what does this say? And this permeates very many different aspects and elements of our life. I want to clear up a little something. Last week I talked about that it's okay to be in fear because we're human and we want to feel our feelings. We're not AI, artificial intelligence. We're not computers. We're people. Some people I noticed in the comments to the Pele report mistook what I said to think that, I am acknowledging, oh, that's mainstream media is creating fear. No. Yes and no. This is where we get into this week's mantra. There are both sides of this equation that are right. On the one side, we have a deadly virus. Whether it's natural or man-made is yet to be determined. On the other side, okay, we have sterilizing vaccines that can sterilize women and mess with our DNA. And we're kind of in the middle between a rock and a hard place. And whether you're afraid of the virus or you're afraid of all the conspiracy theories, fear is rampant. Rampant. And if you are in denial that you have no fear, you are in delusion. And that's where the square to Neptune comes in. This is really a time of us facing our illusions. Neptune wants to assist us in that process of becoming aware of our illusions. Personally, romantically, financially, economically, socially, religiously, we all are not, we're not all knowing beings. We're born and we're taught things that our elders don't always know what they're talking about. We're brought up with mistruths. There are things about life that are not yet discovered. What we know of reality is probably 5%. That's where I would put it. What makes the universe tick? What makes a human being live and die, and etc. I mean, we're at the bottom of the scale of understanding, and so we really want to humble ourselves a little bit. And this time period that we're in right now, This, and particularly like this big, you know, Eris square Pluto. I've got to read you this little quote. It's not very often I get to quote Athena, okay? But here's what Athena spoke, right, to Hercules. Oh, Hercules, don't be so surprised. This thing that has brought about your confusion is aporia, contentiousness, and Eris, strife. If you just leave it alone, it stays small. But if you decide to fight it, then it swells from its small size and grows large. Homer in the Iliad said, yeah, she who is a little thing at first, but thereafter grows until she strides on the earth with her head striking heaven. This is the difference, I think, between some things that are going on right now. I was just witnessing, a YouTube video of these protests in the UK where they're going up against the police, and they're saying, choose your side. Choose your side. Like it's time. Like, we have to take sides. You're either for us or against us. We're in a polarized condition of black and white, good and evil, white hats and black hats. I'm sorry. Just look at any rainbow, okay? There is a spectrum. And what I really want to focus on today is being in the center of that spectrum and moving into the positive side of Neptune, which not only wants to show us our delusions in the form of maybe lies, okay, and deceit, but also the higher vibrations of Neptune, which is universal love, unity, consciousness, returning to the source of creation, opening the crown chakra. It's a very, it's a huge spectrum. And that is what today's mantra has to do with, because now I want to read you the mandala for the degree of this solar eclipse. It's fantastic. This is exciting. A bluebird perched on the gate of a cottage. The reward which meets every effort at integration into a social environment for those who remain true to their own selves. The bluebird is a well-known symbol of happiness, but also it refers to what one might call a spiritually orientated mind, to which the color blue relates, especially when a bird is mentioned. A cottage is normally part of a community, and the implication is that its inhabitants are well adapted either to the life of the community or to their more or less isolated togetherness. When I think of a cottage, I actually think of a cottage out here by the river. There's not too many cottages in the city. I think of cottages as, more in harmony with Mother Nature and natural permaculture, organic ways of living and interacting with our surroundings, but also socially. So this month, this is the seed that is permeating. It is time where I believe that, some truths will be revealed, will be addressed, and it's very positive. And it may require protests. I think that it will probably get more disturbing and possibly violent than is maybe necessary or desired. We have this Mars coming around through this lunar cycle, and it's going to conjunct Eris, square Pluto, and this can be very violent. We also have next week Chiron stationing to go direct, and we're still dealing with this wounded masculine, and this wounded masculine has to do with anger, suppressed feelings, fears, needs. When we suppress things, we come into rage. When we are suppressed, okay, by governments or, parents or spouses or partners or whoever, children, your kids can suppress you too. Anyway, I mean, there are many forms of suppression. It leads to anger and rage. And this is a working out of how to deal with suppression, how to deal with anger. And, it's just like I'm all about Gandhi. I'm all about peaceful protest. I'm all about that we can do this consciously and peacefully, and we can make this transition into this age of Aquarius as mature elder adults caring for our future generations and our children. And we can demand explanation from those who are in power. I just really feel so much that education is the key, even more than, protestation or revolution. Of all the shuns, I'm pro-education, And Sagittarius, Gemini, where these moon's nodes are, is the axis of education. And really educating, ourselves, others, and children, and not feeding them rumors or lies or, saying that, science is wrong or bad or corrupt or a tool of the Illuminati or the deep state, or let's not listen to science. It's like, whoa, you're going too far when you go there. I was actually thinking of doing a whole nother dedicated video. This is just a Pele report. This is a weekly astrology report, hopefully, giving this kind of sense of what the astrological energy is this week. But I was thinking of doing more like an hour-long, big thing on conspirituality that I brought up last week, because it seemed to raise up, some feathers. But that would be a separate kind of a thing. I just want to close today now, with this mantra and share with you a little more about, where it's coming from. And it is, really, creation is explosive. They say there's a little light when the sperm hits the egg. Kaboom! There's a little explosion, even with fertilization. Think of the birth of a nation is explosive. So the birth of a new paradigm can be very explosive. As the future and past collide, I remain centered in love, witnessing life from all sides. I love it. It's so Neptunian, right? Centered in love, witnessing from all sides. Neptune is the periphery, right? Identity is the center. So it's peripheral consciousness. And maybe if love permeates the entire universe or multiverse, right? Then centered in love would actually be where we have individual consciousness and peripheral consciousness united. I love it. Wrap your head around that one, man. Okay, and I'm getting this because, as many of you know if you've been listening to this for a long time, you know, I've done Kundalini Yoga for 10 years or so and taught it. And then Yogi Bhajan got, you know, exposed, you know, as a big asshole. So it kind of shot holes in my spiritual practice. But I think I found another guy. He's great, man. It's Shenzhen. Shenzhen. I'm going to put a link down here in the notes to a meditation. It's about a 12, 13-minute meditation that I'm now doing regularly called Awakening the Heart. It has a little movement. It's got a verse. You can download the verse. You can memorize the movements. I mean, it would be great if we all kind of did this awakening the heart, you know, at the day of the eclipse here, right? You know, like next Monday, just awakening the heart. It's so beautiful. The guy's a martial arts master from Japan, and I really like him. So anyway, check for that link below. You know, the song, I was thinking, I mean, what popped up for me is, you know, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, love the one you're with. Don't be angry, don't be sad. Right? But another one was The Rose. I remember Bette Midler did it. The Rose. It has to do with the nature of love. And this awakening the heart is centering ourselves in love, in the heart. And this gives us a completely different perspective. We don't get lost in information, news, what's going on out there. You know, it's like whether we are on a ship, just think we're on the Titanic, or just think you're on a one of those cruise lines or something, okay? You know? Spaceship Planet Earth. We're not the captain. We're not the first mates. We're not in the engine room. We're passengers on this planet, baby. There are conditions we cannot control. We need to come to terms with what we cannot control. And we can fight it, resist it, bang our heads against the wall or against the shield of some policeman because we can't control everything. This is like Aries gone berserk. Let's see, Aries, Capricorn. These can be control freaks. And yes, there are control freaks. And we don't want to be controlled. So there's this space. Healthy boundaries. We can control our own bodies. There's no way I'm getting vaccinated, right? You know, I don't think anybody listening to this report, you know, is even there. But it's also helpful to stand up for our brothers and sisters. The other thing I want to just say is, you know, I don't want to get too off topic, but, you know, I'm in Costa Rica, and a lot of this, you know, stuff going on is going in. It's going on in Europe, in the United States and Canada primarily, a little bit down in Australia, but, you know, it's like, really, don't be stuck. There are at least 12 different companies working on these vaccines. And it's not just, you know, Pfizer or Moderna or, you know, I mean, you don't have to just, you know, bend over and take, okay, what the most popular shove down your throat kind of situation is. It's up to each one of us to research and to explore, to take care of our bodies, and live life in the pursuit of happiness. Yeah. And then observe and witness from that centered place of love and in our heart, with as little, judgment and as much forgiveness as we can for both sides of the polarized extremists. Just be here. Yeah? So creation is explosive. As the future and past collide, I remain centered in love, witnessing life from all sides. May you stay centered in love and witness life from all sides. Namaste. Aloha. So much love.